Hello. Okay, so what I would like is if all the speakers who are here could please turn on their video stream, if possible, and also audio, so we don't, if you don't have too much noise around, turn on the audio so we don't have problems. Excellent. Great to see you. So thank you very much. I want to thank you all for the wonderful presentations. I really enjoyed them, and I was furiously in my overloaded screen. I had all the papers up because I had prepared and was flipping between them and was really enjoying the wonderful overview that your talks provided. So thank you very much for all the effort you put into the videos. Now, what I want to do now, as I flip between more screens and everything else, is just highlight to everyone that you can use the session Q&A to add questions. And I bet you there are people who've been just digesting it and need a minute or two to come up with their question. But I also encourage people to vote. I have actually voted for all of the questions just to give them one vote. But it would be really nice if we had a sense of what the audience here feels about the things that they would like and so on. And also to give people a little more time for that, I have a question that I would really like to ask. I'm just thinking, I'm going to put it, I realize we have possible bandwidth issues. I can hear myself wonderfully. But I'm going to ask you all to take an opportunity, if you wish, to answer this question, which I'm going to put on Hoover. And I hope you can see it. I'm also going to put it onto the main chat, all panelists and attendees, and then I will read it. So you, and this is partly to slow down so you've got time to think about it. So we don't have special issues in IMWAT, but as I sat here in this session, I thought, hey, that there might be a case for having a special issue or, you know, a special sub issue in one of the 4 deadlines for IMWAT. And so then a self-selected track in the conference. But what I wonder if each of you would like to take an opportunity to pretend that you were pitching a proposal for such a special issue, and it was going to be on privacy and security. And I know we have one paper that's actually a little not privacy and security, but I have a second question that will bring you in, and you're certainly welcome to express a view. So I wonder if each of you would like to share your own sense of the special place for privacy and UbiComp to be together and to build even a sub-community of UbiComp privacy people. So would anyone like to volunteer to be first to speak? Anyone? Game
so
to...
maybe I can start. Like I think the privacy issue is very important in UbiComp devices, because these days we have so many devices around us, and these privacy concerns are very different in various demography. Like in countries like, for example, Germany, people perceive privacy very differently than perhaps in the United States. And I think it's, as a UbiComp researcher, it's our great opportunity to address those concerns. And I think I would love to see a special track under IMUD that deals with especially the privacy and UbiComp as a general subject matter.
So I guess 2 broad areas there would be how to change the algorithm or whatever you're doing so that it runs on device as much as possible. So I guess that's one big track over there, right? And the other is how do you encrypt or somehow make it harder to recover the data, even if it's spoofed over. So I think we actually have 2 talks. We had 2 talks just now touching on these things, but I think those 2 avenues should be emphasized on, I guess.
And I'll maybe I thought it was a really interesting question, especially since, you know, if you'd asked that 3 years ago, I would have said anything on privacy, because the security community largely ignored human factors in anything. But that's been changing. So I think there's room for a more specialized niche here. I think one trend we saw here is users on mobile devices. I think kind of the mobile-centric stuff here is more interesting than even the slight touching of mobile they do over in the security and privacy community. And the other way I think we could continue to differentiate ourselves more from the HCI perspective is to get real user testing of our solutions. Even in the security and privacy field, if they have users, it's often smaller studies in very common desktop environments. And if we were actually looking at some of these more unique solutions on ubiquitous devices and actually bringing in users and testing them, that really separates from the security and privacy people that might only consider these devices at the protocol level.
Anyone else want to take up this? Okay, so what I might do now is give the audience a chance and go, whoops. All right, so we've got 5 votes for the first question. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm very aware that network bandwidth, we've got pretty good bandwidth from my house, but I will try very hard to make sure that I remember to provide things in audio and text, so please remind me if I forget. So the top question with 5 votes is for helping older adults. Do you have an idea about what type of help is most satisfying for the seeker? And I see something that says 2 new replies, but I can't seem to see what it, I can't click on it. But
the 2 replies were a mistake by John Crumb.
Okay, so the 2 replies were a mistake. Excellent. So nonetheless, dearie me. Okay, so if we could have someone who would like to speak to that, it's obviously local to one paper. Yep.
Yes. Thank you for the question. So our paper is about, we don't have data about the older adults stratification about what kind of assistant they would like to do. So our research is more about the helpers' stories, what the helpers told us. So if I need to assume what kind of help, and also we also assume there's not kind of, for my knowledge, there's not really research that check it yet and explore this issue. But if I have it, even if I need to assume and what it will be, I assume that people would like to get short explanations about how to solve the problem, and also absolute solution, what to do. And also explanation to explain and describe all the situation in short sentence, what they should do. So this is more, I can say it's more like a work in progress now, but it's something that we explore in future study. But from this study and from this work that I talk about in the presentation, we didn't have the data to say, to answer this kind of question.
Okay, thank you very much.
I hope it's answered the question.
Great. Okay, so we'll take one more, maybe a couple more that are very precise, because I think they'll be fairly quick, but maybe you'd like to elaborate. So next one with 4 votes is the Send Capture paper. Does it work when you're on a vehicle or on a bumpy road?
Yeah, please repeat it again. I can clearly listen.
All right, so can you see the chat? The Q&A? I'll put it in the chat now. Yep, thank you for reminding me. Whoops. Sorry, I love this interface. It goes back to private. Someone just sent me a private message, but okay. Can you see it now?
Yeah, actually, we haven't tested the case. I mean, in the bus or in the in a bumper road. But in our user studies, there's one participant said that it is not so easy if a baby sitting on your lap.
Right.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'd follow up with that. I think, you know, in one sense, it's a little sad that we're not seeing more CAPTCHA research, because I think the only way to really address that, it's actually not just a usability issue, but it's also an accessibility issue, is that we need multiple CAPTCHA schemes that are presented to the user. Right now, we often have a textual choice, and then we have an audio choice, which our study found is just completely useless. And there was another paper recently that showed even for deaf people, the audio ones are terrible. Sorry, not for deaf people, for blind people, the audio ones are terrible. So I think what we need is we need actually more variety of CAPTCHA schemes here that are all sufficiently strong to resist attack that we could actually present the users, because their modalities are going to differ. And once again, it's not just that usability, it's also that accessibility side that means that we need more forms of both usable and secure CAPTCHAs.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will take now, I just added one that was sent on the chat privately because someone sent it. So if you just want to check, there's a new question which you can potentially vote on. But I would now like to take the next question, and maybe, I don't know if you can all see, I will copy it. It's this one here. And I'll read it, which also gives the panelists a chance to think for a minute. Privacy adversarial networks. Does the encoder create voice commands whose voice sounds are different from the input? Just a clarification question. And while you're at it, you might as well do the next one, which I'll stick there as well. Go on, please, if you can. Privacy adversarial. Is anyone able to reply to that? Okay. Sorry about that. We don't have a response. Maybe it'll come. I'll make a note here so that I come back to it. Okay. Well, we've already got 2 votes on the next question, which is quite nice and nice in general so that a bunch of people can comment on it. How does interpretability, hard to pronounce, factor into the use of machine learning for security? A system that is not interpretable may be better for obscuring, but it might be less trustworthy. So this relates to several of the papers, if anyone would like to take that on.
So I like the idea that translate the interpretability factor from that advertisement paper into the use of machine learning for security. So the idea is, if we have to balance between 2 factors, whether it's annoyance or it's trustworthy, so how we decide that? So what is the expectation of the user? We must find a conflict between the 2 ideas, and then we can build up from there.
Thank you. Excellent. Let me just see, there are then there's some very precise ones. There's one that was there early on, but was cut off on the gate paper. And I'll cut and paste it into the chat as well. For generating bit keys for the gate, could you also solve the noise problem by allowing each person a set of multiple legitimate gate keys instead of just one? I guess they hit the 200 character limit then. This set could cover gates.
Thank you for these questions. Actually, we never consider this approach. We think the key pairing is almost 1 devices to 1 devices in most cases. In our work, we train models to reduce noise from other body locations except the chest, because the chest is ground truth. So for each location, for every location, we train a model, and the model is safe in the devices. So maybe we can try to learn a general model and can directly remove the noise from all other locations. That's that's a good question.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you like it. I have one more that I would like that it struck me, and I'll post it now. It's a very general one that I think is applicable to all the speakers. Whether it applied to you, it was quite striking that some of the papers looked like a United Nations meeting. There were a lot of people from a lot of countries, and certainly in the whole session, we've got a lot of diversity. So I want to read this question. The papers in this session come from many countries, and there are several papers with authors from multiple countries. And I know we've already had one comment about this. Do you see important cultural differences and contexts that are important for UbiComp aspects of security and privacy? Anyone want to comment on that?
I'll maybe say something really quick. Not in our paper this time, but in the past, we've definitely noticed this. And it's actually one of the reasons we've stopped getting answers from people on MTurk when we do kind of like more open questions from people that are outside our country, of where we have investigators. So we'll actually get investigators from other countries because we started realizing there were so many cultural clues in the responses we were reading that we, without even like subconsciously, we just pick them up and interpret them. But when we actually like deeply looked at our answers, we realized just like even in our own language, how many things that if we didn't have those clues, we'd be missing. So I think it's imperative that we get more of these cross-cultural collaborations because it's unclear how reliable analysis of data is if you're analyzing data from a culture different than yours.
Yeah, so it strikes me that UbiComp has never really, it's been very focused, and we've certainly been aware of the notion of WISEs embedded in the world around us, but I don't know that we've really explored the whole issue of the different worlds we all live in and the different lenses we bring to seeing them and interacting with them. Okay, let me just see, because I shouldn't hog this. I think there was one more question no, I think this is, I'll just check if there's a new one. Okay, I think that was the last one that we had. So I have one more. And it, well, I guess all of you might have thought of it. Whoops, I just saw a typo in the version. So the question is, a number of the papers had either a focus on or a relevance to the special needs of the elderly. We all aspire to become old, if not elderly. And so I wonder, again, UbiComp has a lot of potential because we can do cool things with technology and invent a future that would be better for helping people age as they would wish to. I personally, I don't know about you, but I feel terrified of the security risks in the world and the attacks, potential attacks on my privacy, even though I feel I'm pretty competent at managing it. But I wonder, I also think this for the advertising case. How many of you really see a special place for UbiComp, and in what? On the issue of the elderly, because that would be a particular population, and maybe the other part, while I give you a bit more time to think, you know, what would you envisage as a special issue if we had such things, which we don't, but I'm going to suggest it. If we had one with a focus on what UbiComp can do for the elderly. I mean, some of the papers are right on this, yeah.
So the elderly is very important topic. So there are several issues about, we need to think about it. The first thing is the older adults or elderly. Usually people who are really afraid from technology. So about, for example, how to get over this fear about technology and to first to know about this kind of technology. So UbiComp can help and to build like technology that can encourage them to overcome that issues. And also, for example, it's like cognitive abilities to help them to use more easily and to take inside the consideration in design this kind of technologies. Like the cognitive and the mental models, and to build more interfaces that are inside the consideration and to think about other adults inside the design process is very important. And to see how can we build this kind of system that can really help other adults to do everyday life and not just the young people with, and to connect them to everybody else, not just one population. This is the big idea.
Thank you. That's great. And of course, your work was spot on that area. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment on that? I mean, the GATE paper certainly had a link to that, potentially. But anything that makes it easier as well, the sense capture too, I assume.
One thing I can observe is that for the elderly, many have trade off their convenience to the security measure. So what I'm thinking is the technology is there to help people. So with high security, will that make people, it make people feel safe, but it doesn't make people feel convenient when doing the things. So how do we balance with this? Because it say a lot with the user awareness on what consequences that impact them when they don't take measure with security. But at the same time, they want the convenience with doing using technology for their things.
Okay, maybe we've got room for one more quick response if someone has one. I know it's probably a left field question for most of you. Okay, well, I want to finish on time for the next session so you can walk to the papers and not miss them. No, not seriously. Thank you very much. I imagine the times are not as kind to you as this is for me, now 9:30 a.m. in Sydney. It's wonderful to see you all. It's a pity we can't see the 57 people who are in this session. Thank you for making session one so wonderful. I will applaud you.
Thank you very much.
And declare the end of the session.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.